Hey, what's up you beautiful feckers, how you all doing? Now, Devstream 109 was last night and we got shown some pretty cool new things, so let's get through this as quick as possible. Peculiar mods, surprise surprise, are going to happen as I guessed in yesterday's video, thanks to some of the info that you guys sent to me. They will come with the Sanctuary Onslaught mode because Void Onslaught is now called Sanctuary Onslaught. These mods, of course, have no purpose, as Steve said, they're pointless. They don't increase damage or help you out in any way whatsoever, but they are just for fun. Mods that will give you sarcastic audio cues when you do certain items, mods that can put flowers on your enemies as you shoot them to make them beautiful, so they shouldn't be taken seriously by any of us. But already, of course, people are trying to overcomplicate the idea of peculiars, suggesting that we should be given some kind of specific peculiar mod slot added on to our weapons as well, so an extra mod slot, suggesting that they should make them into arcanes, and suggesting that they should give us peculiar versions of existing mods that we already own. That in itself would cost you all thousands and thousands of endo, adding a grind onto something that was meant to be just about having fun. Just leave them as they are. Or if push comes to shove, make peculiars auxiliary items like the bunny ears and moustaches that we already have in the game, free from endo cost and of course free for all of you to equip and interchange for whatever special effect that you want, not an extra endo sink by giving us peculiar versions of mods that we already own. I don't need a peculiar Hornet Strike. I don't want to waste endo on something like that. I don't need another serration just for a flower effect either, so either leave them as they are or turn them into auxiliary slots that cost you guys and me of course nothing whatsoever, and free from spending huge amounts of endo. So that's peculiars, and like I said, Void Onslaught is now called Sanctuary Onslaught, but it may still be renamed again. Digital Extremes aren't entirely sure. There is two modes of this Sanctuary Onslaught, normal mode and of course what looks like a weekly challenge mode. Onslaught will also be another way for you all to gain large amounts of focus, so focus is going to be tied to this game mode as well. But is it endgame worthy? It's maybe a little bit too early to tell. Rewards will play a huge factor in deciding whether it's endgame worthy or not. So will resources, endo, focus and so on. They're all going to dictate exactly whether this is endgame worthy or not. Now Korra will be released with Sanctuary Onslaught next week. That's where all of our parts are going to drop, as well as those peculiar mods. Now Onslaught, in the words of Scott, is a game mode that's arcadey, high intensity, where enemies will ramp up in difficulty very fast. So don't expect to stay in any of these Onslaught modes for hours on end. That's what they're saying, but I know you guys are going to fucking try anyway. It's going to be a small tile set where you need to complete an objective while keeping the Void stability gauge from dropping by killing everything. Every time you and your squad jump through one of these portals to the next stage of this Sanctuary Onslaught, you will have 45 seconds of a focus gain buff, so go on a murder spree to earn large amounts of focus for those 45 seconds. Resources, now here's the thing, from watching back all of this footage, and I don't know if this is just because it was in a dev build, but resources didn't seem to drop in the footage from yesterday's Onslaught game mode. I seen plenty of ammo dropping for Rebecca in the footage, but no resources whatsoever, so maybe that'll still get added in next week, and it just wasn't showing up because it was on the dev build. So that's the Sanctuary Onslaught. Of course, let me know what you think of it in the comment section below, if you think it is actually endgame worthy or not. Korra has had some pretty big changes to her abilities. She can no longer switch between impact, puncture and slash damage with her first ability like we've seen in previous dev streams, and they have also removed her Exalted Whip ability, and I know a lot of you really wanted to get your hands on this Exalted Whip. Now her number one ability is called Phase Lash, and it scales off your melee mods. It's basically a frontal AoE that seems to deal a hell of a lot of damage. Now it also looks like it has a whipping animation, so maybe that might keep some of you BDSM guys happy, I don't know. Her second ability is called Ensnare, and it's a crowd control ability that gathers enemies in and they will take increased damage from her Phase Lash. So it's a pretty big crowd control by the looks of things as well. Now her next ability will summon her Kavat Venari. Tapping that ability again while that Kavat is out and active will change that Kavat's stance, I guess, from being offensive defensive, and it also has a healing ability. I think it's called Lick Wounds or something like that, and I think this ability will also heal your Warframe, so that's hopefully going to be very, very helpful for anyone running with Khora as well. Now her final ability is no longer that Exalted Whip, and it is now this huge dome of chains that crowd control enemies as they walk into it. Rebecca called it the Strangle Dome, but I don't know if that's actually the name it's going to have. It also will increase the damage that these enemies will take if they get caught up in this Strangle Dome from her Phase Lash. Now here's the thing about this Strangle Dome and its crowd control. On the dev stream I've seen plenty of enemies walking through it and not actually getting caught up in it with that crowd control, but I know Scott said it was still being fine-tuned. So I'm sure that will be fixed up before Khora gets released next week, unless, and I hope this isn't the case, unless it functions in the same way that Bastille does, where power strength dictates how many enemies this Strangle Dome can hold. And if they mention that on the dev stream, then I clear up just missed where they said that. So that's Khora, and of course the Onslaught game mode and the peculiars out of the way. Grand Theft Warframe will be a thing when Venus hits us. Expect races and plenty of flipped vehicle rovers. This was cool to watch, but it's for Venus, so it's probably some way off, and I'm sure we will be seeing plenty of this again in upcoming dev streams. We've seen the next wave of Tenogen skins, and with it are the two amazing Chroma skins that I wanted to get my hands on. There's the Chroma Grax and of course the Chroma Thyrus that I made a video on a few weeks ago, so I am really hyped to get my hands on those. We got another look at Vauban's deluxe skin, as well as the deluxe axe skin that's going to come with it, with its rotating, I think it's a jet powered head on it. We were told that sight blades like Stalker's Hate will no longer have their own stances and will be moving into the heavy blade category, which has some players really happy and others not, because they really loved the sight stances. We've seen a top hat Moa with a bow tie as an idea for a possible Moa pet, and of course we've seen still images of the possible updated UI that Steve has been showing off on his Twitter for the last few weeks. Vertical scrolling will be a thing, no more horizontal when looking at your weapons and your Warframes. So the UI is getting a complete revamp, but I'll make a video on that once it actually gets changed and not before it. So that's pretty much DevStream 109. I will leave a link in the description to the full DevStream if you want to pop over and watch it. Let me know what you think of everything that you've seen, whether you're hyped or not. Onslaught and Khora, like I said, are both out next week, so should be a lot of fun. Do me a huge favour and hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, or don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Warframe, and as always, thanks very much for watching.